Hello and welcome to Algebra. The first thing you want to do is just make sure you know how to get logged into our class. So in order to get there, you just go to www.k12.com/kava. You want to make sure you bookmark this page. This is how you're going to log into your school or into school every day. You log in with your username and password, and then you're going to click on the course under classes. So you click on classes and then you find our course Math 128B Algebra 1 second semester. So welcome to Algebra. My name is Mrs. Chow and I also work with another teacher, Mrs. Johnson. So we work together with teaching the lessons and going through the live lessons. So you'll just know who your exact teacher is based off of what it says in your class. So it might be me, Mrs. Chow, or it could be Mrs. Johnson. This is Math 128B, and we're in second semester of the 2018-2019 school year. So a few things about me. My name is Andy Chow. This is my 9th year teaching math, and this is my 4th year here at Kava. So when I'm not working, I enjoy hanging out with my family. So I have a 3.5-year-old daughter, Berkeley. So that's her right there, right there. We have 2 dogs. We have Sheldon right here, and we have Riley over there. And we have a little girl on the way, and actually just a couple of weeks. So I will be going on maternity leave very, very shortly, and you'll have a sub for a short time before I come back. I also love just hanging out with my family. So my husband right there, and we like to work on restoring old furniture, work on home decor. So I like to do a lot of stuff within our house right there. This is Mrs. Johnson. She has, and her family over here, she has a bachelor's in economics from UCLA and her master's in education from Stanford. She's been teaching for 7 years, and this is also her 4th year at Kava. She's taught a lot of different classes here at Kava: Algebra 1, Geometry, AP Calc, and Consumer Math. She also loves spending time with her family. So she has 2 daughters, and she likes to go outdoors and travel, and she loves to party plan and work on home improvement. So you are a later cohort. This means that you are starting a little bit later than the beginning of the year or the beginning of the semester. So you're kind of starting in the middle of a unit or not right at the beginning. You are not responsible for any assignment that was due before your start date. You will, however, see all the lessons for your reference because this information is still on the final. But you're not responsible for any assignments that were due before you started. You'll want to make sure you check the welcome email that was sent to know what your first assignment is. You can also check the class announcements. In the class announcements, there's going to be a schedule of the week, and you'll kind of know where you need to start, where you begin from there. So we're first going to do a quick overview of our class. This is our math class right here. When you log in, this is what you see. You kind of see at the top there's a toolbar up there, and then underneath that there's a shortcut to get to all the class content. So that's going to be a huge thing for you. It takes you directly to different units, to the course materials. So you'll want to be able to become familiar with that. Also in the class, when you log in, you can see what your grade is, you can see what your progress is, and then they'll show up if there's any overdue assignments that you need to complete. It'll also show your teacher's name over here, and then you can click on the Contact My Teacher. That's how you could email me directly. Also, there's more email. If you go scroll down a little bit on the left, there's another email over there. You can click create a new message, go to your inbox there, and that's how you can also get to contacting all your teachers. For more teacher contact information, so for example, if you want our phone number, if you go to content or just click on the course materials directly on that toolbar, and then go to teacher contact information. So under course materials, content, course materials, teacher contact information. The class plan, this is what tells you what is due for that day and what you can see due in future days. When you log in, you'll see there's the class plan. There is a nice little overview on there. It just tells you specifically what's due, what's upcoming. You can either click on class plan right here, or if you click on class plan at the top of the toolbar, you'll be able to see more details and different views. So if you click on that, it will bring you to this, and you can change the view that you wish. So you can change it to your preference. But this is where you're going to see what is due for our class. This is how you'll see what's due for all your classes by going to the class plan, but you can see exactly what's specifically due for each of your classes here. The class announcements. I already mentioned briefly real quick about class announcements, but these also show up on our course homepage. Class announcements are super important. We put information about the upcoming week in the class announcements to help you so you can be prepared, as well as just some helpful tips for you, where you can find recordings, what you can do, some tips for success, lots of helpful information in the class announcements. So you want to make sure you're reading through these weekly because there's going to be everything you need to know for the week, plus all the helpful information that you will need for that week. Under course materials, there are some really helpful documents for you. One of them that you really want to know how to access is the Class Connect recordings document. And what this document is it's a overview. It has all of our Class Connect recordings from every lesson on this single document. So if you ever miss a session, or if you need to go back and rewatch a lessons recording, you can just go to this one document and you can have access to all of the recordings. So under course materials, the same place where you found the teacher contact information, if you click on Class Connect recordings, you'll be able to see, it'll take you to the document that has a list of recordings for every lesson that we've done up to this point. Underneath that, there's the calendar of assignments. And this is a checklist of assignments that you can print out and you can check it off as you complete your assignments in order to stay on top of all your work. So when you click on Class Connect recordings, this is what you would see. And there's already recordings, links placed in here from Unit 1, from when we already started, and then you just will have access to all of those recordings and then everything else from here on. Because did you know there is a recording for every single lesson? So every single lesson will have a recording. Every single assignment has what we call like quiz questions in the recording to help you. Every test also has a practice test that shows you like test questions. And that practice test will always have a recording that shows you those like test questions. So you can watch the recording while taking your test, your quiz and test. You can pause, rewind as often as needed. It's like having the teacher right next to you during a quiz or test explaining exactly how to do the problem. My recommendation is to have the quiz open at the same time you're recording you have the recording for that lesson open. While watching the recording, take notes, especially on examples and like quiz questions. After you see like quiz question number 1, pause the recording, do the real quiz question number 1 while it's still fresh in your head. Then you can pause and rewind the recording as often as you need. And then you repeat that for all questions on the quiz. For tests, do the same thing but with the practice test review while you are taking the test. Recordings will show you what we call like quiz or test questions, and it just tells you exactly how to solve every single problem on the quiz, as well as how to enter it on your assessment correctly. They're very, very similar questions, just different numbers. So same types of questions with just different numbers in them. So here's what the calendar of assignments or the checklist of assignments looks like when you download it. So you can just print it out and then you can just check it off after you complete every assignment. So now we're going to talk about what you should be doing every day in our math class. So for a day in the life of a successful algebra scholar, the first thing you want to do is check what is due for that day by looking at the class plan. You want to make sure you're reading through the class announcements. You want to make sure you're completing the daily lesson by either going through the online lesson or attending our Class Connect session. If you attend the Class Connect session, we're teaching the daily lesson. So then you don't have to go through the daily lesson unless you want some extra help. And then you want to complete the quiz or practice test or whatever is due for that day. So once again, to see what assignment is due for that day, you can check the class plan. You want to make sure you're checking through the announcements so you know what is in store for that week, as well as lots of helpful information. For the content, so this is if you're going through the online lessons, you would click on content at the top of the page and then you would find the unit. Or you can click directly on the unit from the home page. The lessons will be listed on the left-hand side as well as in the middle of the page. And then you just scroll through, you go through each of the lessons, the get ready, the learn, the practice. Now, if you're attending the Class Connect sessions or watching the recording, we always suggest that you still go back and do the practice because it has lots of good practice problems for you. And then at the end of the lesson, you'll have a quiz. So if you're going through an online lesson, this is kind of what it looks like here. And then you just scroll through the lesson by clicking on the arrows. You also need to scroll down because each lesson has a little bit of arrows at the bottom as well, and then before it takes you to the next one. For our Class Connect sessions, so these are live and then or recorded sessions in Class Connect. We have direct instruction sessions, which are the daily lesson with the like quiz questions. And then we have targeted tutoring sessions. And these are support sessions that are required for some students. So to access your Class Connect, you just click on My Schedule when you are in the landing page, and then you will get to find the Class Connect session there. So how it works for our class is we have math on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. And that's where we're going to teach the live direct instruction session. So we will have a live class where we will be teaching whatever lesson it is for that day. We will be teaching it then. On Thursday and Friday, we have some other sessions scheduled during that time. So we don't have a live session where we actually teach the lesson. However, there is always always going to be a recording of the direct instruction lesson for you. And you can access that recording on our recordings document under course materials. So in order to be successful in math, you want to learn it. So you want to watch Class Connect sessions to learn the lesson. Make sure you take notes. You want to practice it. Do the practice quiz in class, in the class session with the teacher for those light quiz questions. And if needed, get more practice in the online lesson and or rewatch the recording. And then assess it. Take the daily quiz to check for your understanding. Rewatch the recording to refresh your memory and use your notes. All of that, learning it, practicing it, and assessing it is going to equal success in math. While going through the lesson, whether it is going through the online lesson on your own or if you're in a Class Connect session or watching the recording, you want to make sure you're taking notes. You want to have a notebook just for math to help you stay organized. And then at the top, you can label what each lesson is. So everything is organized and in one spot. And then you want to practice it. So once again, I said there was practice problems within every online lesson. Practicing is going to make you better. So math is just like any sport, instrument, anything new that you're learning, you need to practice to become better. And then you need to take the quiz. At the end of most lessons, there is a quiz that's worth 5 points. Not all lessons have a quiz, and if they don't, you still need to know that material for the next quiz and for the test. But each quiz is worth 5 points, and you get 3 chances to take each quiz. So for each quiz, you get 3 attempts. If you didn't do as well as you wanted to, review your notes, rewatch the recording, and take it again. For the unit tests, so the test that is at the end of each unit, you only get 1 chance to take the part 1 tests. So make sure you're prepared for those. You will not be able to retake a test just like you can with the quizzes. We have what's called teacher graded assignments or TGAs, and these consist of practice tests, which are worth 10 points extra credit unless you're in honors, interim checkpoints, which are worth 20 points, and unit test part 2s, which are also worth 20 points. And what a teacher graded assignment is it's not graded by the computer, so it's not graded right away. These are ones that you have to print out, handwrite all your work, scan your assignment back in, and then the teacher will grade it. A little bit more about submitting TGAs. It must be submitted as a single PDF file. Now, I know a lot of you have a scanner where you can scan it in as a PDF. If you don't, there are some other helpful things that you can do to convert something to a single PDF file. And I'll be going through that in just a minute. When you're submitting a TGA, it needs to be labeled a specific way, and you can always find out how it should be labeled by looking at the class announcements, looking at the directions when you have downloaded the test, and it's also listed on the recordings document. So those will always tell you specifically what it should be labeled. And how it is it's always going to be your first initial, your last name, underscore, and then U for the unit, so like unit 1, L for the lesson, like lesson 11. If it's an interim checkpoint, it's just your first initial, your last name, underscore, IC for interim checkpoint, and then whatever number it is. For the part 2s of the unit tests, same thing, first initial, last name, underscore, and then you're just going to write test, underscore, U, whatever the unit is, L, whatever the lesson is. To submit it, you'll just go to Tools, click on Assignments, and then you select the folder that you would like to submit to. For practice tests, those are worth 10 points extra credit unless you're in honors, and you must show all your work and have the correct answer to receive those points. There's no excuse not to have any of this because every practice test will have a recording where we go through all the problems with you. Interim checkpoints and part twos, these are all testing your knowledge on the material. So you want to just make sure you are showing all your work to make sure you get all the points. You can see class announcements for what to do if your printer isn't working. So if you're having trouble with your printer, you're out of ink, you can check the class announcements, and also how you can combine to a single PDF file. So I was mentioning earlier how it needs to be submitted as a single PDF file. Class announcements will have a link to help you out with that, and it's also written right here. When you click on this or when you go to this website, this is what you'll see. So this is what you can do if you need to combine to a single PDF file or if your printer isn't working. So let's say your printer or your scanner only scans it as individual PDFs. What you do is you can scan it as a separate PDF, and then you could go to this site right here, the first one, which is combinepdf.com, if you need to take multiple PDF pages and combine it to one PDF file. You could also take a picture on your phone and email it to yourself, so it's a JPEG, and then you could go to the second site down here if you need to combine JPEGs to a single PDF file. So you could just take a picture on your phone and email it to you, and then you would go to that site and you would upload them, and it would help you convert it to a single PDF file. There's also a couple videos on here on how to use those sites. So there's one that tells you how to use those sites, and then there's one that tells you how to rename a file if you've already saved it and you don't know how to rename the file. Another one, and this is an app if you have a smartphone. This is my favorite. I use this one all the time. It is a free app. It's called Genius Scan, and this is a free PDF scanner app on your phone. So what you do is you can take a picture, and you can take a picture of multiple pages. So you would do what's called a batch, and then you can email the PDF version to yourself. You open it on your desktop, save it, make sure it's labeled correctly, and then you can upload that to the correct assignment box. Genius Scan has been the favorite so far, so that's a good one if you have a smartphone. There's also a ton of other sites out there to help you with converting to a single PDF file. Also on that document, if you go to that site, it will tell you what to do if your printer is not working or if your scanner is not working. So remember, all TGAs must be handwritten, a single PDF file, and labeled correctly in order to get graded. A few other things about our class. So checking our grade. When you log into your class, it tells you your grade, and it also will tell you if you have any overdue assignments. You want to click on the Grades tab in the top toolbar because this is going to give you a lot more detailed information about your grade. It'll have your grade, how many points you've earned on that quiz, on that test, on that assignment, and any teacher feedback for you. So there'll be lots of feedback that we'll be providing, especially for teacher graded assignments. So make sure you check that because we give you helpful information if there's anything that you need to fix. If you need to catch up on any missing assignments, what you would do is you would go to the Grades tab, you would check for any zeros or F's in the gradebook, and that means it's missing. We zero out assignments the day after they are due. This does not mean that you cannot complete it. You can still complete it until the end of the quarter or the end of the semester. A few important notes. You want to make sure you're completing lessons in order, especially with math. Math builds upon itself, so you do not want to skip any lessons, otherwise you're going to get lost because you missed some of the material. We have what's called close dates, and these are just at the end of the third quarter, which is April 10th, and at the end of the semester, which is June 14th. These are hard dates where assignments cannot be submitted and turned in after those dates. You will have a lesson to learn and an assignment to complete every day. You do not want to fall behind in our class. You want to make sure your account is set up to the correct time zone. Otherwise, it's going to show that assignments are due at different times. So make sure you're in the correct time zone. And lastly, you want to make sure you're having fun. So what now? What you do need to do is you need to complete what's called the readiness checkpoint. And this is under content, course intro, and readiness checkpoint. And then you just click on readiness checkpoint. And then you take the readiness checkpoint and I'll say Algebra 1 semester B. So you just want to take that. You do not get a grade for this in the grade book. However, it is a requirement for our class. So we need you to take that so we can see where you're at. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, I am looking forward to a wonderful, successful semester.